Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Up to the Plate. So glad you could join us, and so glad to have my main man, Al Prizzuti, here on the dais. And I have to report, dutifully so, that our Super Bowl bet has been paid off in full. And Al received a nice Steel and Ride gift card at our last coffee clutch with all the fellas there who served as my material witnesses. So Al has been paid off. Second year in a row, Al, you collected from me, because last year, as you recall, I had the Bengals. And they were looking pretty good, the Bengals were. Until Aaron Donald happened, right?
I thought Philadelphia was looking pretty good, actually.
Oh, my God. They were too. And in fact, here's a funny story, true story. Philadelphia goes on top, and they're looking pretty good in that first half. So I text Al. I said, Al, you did have the Chiefs, didn't you? And then what happens? Patrick Mahomes happens, and he wins the Super Bowl and leads the Chiefs to the big win there against and it was a great game, Al. It was a great game, wasn't it?
Good game. You never can count Mahomes out. That's the thing that I think Bradshaw, in that halftime show, when they were trailing, and Philadelphia was actually the better team in the first half.
Yeah.
He said, "You got to wait and see with this kid, because he's never out of it."
And you know what? If we were to go back to I guess the footage before last week's show, when Al and I actually made the wager, I think, Al, you were prescient, because you said exactly that. I said the team with the best quarterback.
Best quarterback, best coach too.
Coach too.
Right? I mean, a more experienced coach and probably the most creative quarterback playing today. I mean, he's very creative. And he got a great arm.
And let me tell you, gutsy. And he adds to his legacy now. People are talking about, well, could this be the start of a dynastic run?
Yeah, well, a long way to go to catch up to what the Patriots did. I mean, that's for sure.
Well, we had the opportunity this weekend also to spend some time over at Copeland Fieldhouse for the MIAA Division II Wrestling Championships. And Al, I got to be there for that, and it was a great time, man. I mean, unbelievable competition, and it was history making for one competitor in particular, and that was Milton's own Mason Pellegrini, a junior Wildcat on Ted Carroll's wrestling team that wound up distinguishing himself, making a bit of history, becoming the first Milton wrestler in 59 years to win back-to-back Division II state titles. Congratulations to that young man. He had an unbelievable performance. He had went undefeated, obviously, in the 4 matches. In his semifinal match, Al, against a kid that he had faced before, Chris Hogue, undefeated, went into sudden death. He had been leading 4-3 in the 3rd round, then was penalized for stalling. It evened up the match, and then it went into sudden death. A minute, it's only a minute, and wound up getting the takedown for the win that propelled him into the championship final. And then there he wound up defeating Sam Dean, a kid he had faced before from Minneshaug. In 37 seconds, the guy pinned him.
Wow.
Unbelievable. He pinned him in 37 seconds. So we had an opportunity to spend some time with Mason and Coach Ted Carroll, and here's our interview with him.
Here we are at Copeland Fieldhouse with the Division II Wrestling Champions, where this young man, Milton Jr. Mason Pellegrini, just made history as the first Milton wrestler to go back-to-back in 59 years. Unbelievable. Congratulations, Mason. What is the thoughts, the top of mind for you after accomplishing this feat?
It feels awesome. It's just really exciting, you know?
What did it mean to do it here on your home court?
It just made it even cooler, you know, getting to compete at home, you know, wrestling in front of friends, family. It's awesome.
Yeah, now your name is up there already once beneath the name of Joe Sadati, the guy who was first did back-to-back. And I understand that you reached out to him, you know, before you took the court here, the mat. What was that you wanted to learn from him?
I just wanted to know what it was like back when he wrestled, you know, what his experience was, you know, how it went. It was fun.
Yeah. And we're also joined by none other than Ted Carroll, the head wrestling coach here at Milton. Hi, Ted. Congratulations. You must be super proud of Mason here.
Thank you very much. Very, very proud of Mason. Yeah. Once in a lifetime opportunity to coach a kid like this, and great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And so, tell us a little bit about, you know, what it means to you to see him accomplish this thing. 59 years in the making. It's
been a long time. We've been close, but to be able to go back to back, I knew when they asked us to host states back in, I think, September or October, that there'd be a lot of pressure on Mason, but I knew he could do it. And I knew if he did do it, it would just be that much cooler. And he did it. He put the work in, and he did it. It's awesome. Awesome.
It seemed like he survived a bit of a scare in that semifinal bout.
Semis was tough. Really tough Bridgewater Rainham kid. He was undefeated on the season. It was a great match, but Mason was able to pull it off in overtime.
A sudden death takedown. Now, do you believe that he has the wherewithal, the mix to go three-peat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we'll take that. Try to get. There's a lot left of the season to go here. We have all states and then New England, so we'll get through that. And then I know Mason he'll be working for it. I know that. We'll work out.
Well, Mason, congratulations. What would you like to tell everybody in Milton, you know, as you move on to all states?
I'm excited, you know. I'm ready for it.
All righty. Well, congratulations. Congratulations to Coach Ted Carroll.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right, and that was a great, competition. And now, as we mentioned, Mason's off to the All States, which is going to bring all the winners, the state winners from every division together for a big competition. And it looks like he could be headed on a collision course with this kid, Nate Blanchette, who coincidentally is the one guy who defeated Mason this year. So it's going to be a great opportunity for him. And there's every expectation now that he could be the first three-peat winner in Milton history, coming back next year. So all the best to that young man, all the best to Coach Ted Carroll and the Milton wrestling team. And of course, I want to give a shout out to the Milton Boosters, who did a tremendous job, hosting this event. They did a great job, and I hope they raised a lot of money for Milton Athletics, which are very deserving. But congratulations to them. And so, Al, I invite you to get there sometime, to go see these guys wrestle. They're a lot of fun. And then, of course, you got the Milton High girls hockey team. They're right now ranked 17th in the Globe Top 20 poll, number 12 in the Division II Power Rankings. And Coach Matt Lodi has his team kind of gearing up now for a postseason run. They have strong goaltending. Lila Shamoon is back there. And so, they have, I think, all the ingredients for a nice run. So we want to wish them well as they gear up here for the postseason. So those are my shout outs there, Al. But a lot to discuss now. And as you can see, Al's garb, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the Bruins, Al. What a tremendous run that they've had. And Al, at every turn, it seems like it reinforces to me that this is a special season that these guys are building. With each little building block, you have the win, I think, in the Winter Classic at Fenway. There was no way they were going to lose that game, in my estimation. Jake DeBrusque winning the game, and then all of a sudden going, on the IR with the fractured fibula and wrist and all this stuff going on. Comes back to the fold, and he has a great game in his first game back. And it seemed to be the case with a lot of guys who've come back from injuries. They had like a really significant Marchand, who came back. McAvoy when he came back, all these guys have had contributions. And of course, you look at right now with the way that they're playing. And what I love, Al, was this great road trip they had where they went to Nashville. Where else did they go? I think the Dallas.
They played
Dallas,
Nashville, yeah.
And they brought the siblings.
Yeah.
And the siblings got to enjoy
They've
themselves.
done that before. They've done it.
I think with the fathers, they've done it. The fathers and the mothers.
Done it with Sibs
Siblings?
too.
Yeah.
It was. I think it's a good thing. What I like about the Bruins, and I'm one of these guys that looks and says September to January, teams can be better than other teams, and you don't really get a sense of who are they Stanley Cup champions. Right. After the first of the year, you get a better sense. And when a team is in first place like the Bruins, so far ahead of everybody else, even Carolina, still only 7 behind, but everybody's gunning for them. Yeah. Everybody is gunning to play the Bruins. If you beat them, even if you're in, just on the cusp of getting into the playoffs, if you beat them, it does a lot. It's an emotional game. And, the Bruins have done 2 things. One, I didn't think they played a great game against Dallas, and yet they won. They played a good game against Nashville, and then they came home and annihilated the Islanders, who have had a lot of trouble. A lot of injuries and whatnot.
Oh, my God, that was an
But I think that the key for this team in terms of going forward is what are they going to do in the next 2 weeks? Because Toronto picked up Accardi and O'Reilly. O'Reilly had a hat trick last night, second game in with them. And it's made them stronger. And a lot of people think that this is going to propel the Maple Leafs to be, obviously, in the hunt for a Stanley Cup, which could force the Bruins to say, if we get an injury to any of our players that we currently have, even though we're so far ahead of everybody else, it could cost us. So we need maybe to shore up not only the defense, but maybe a center, thinking in terms of Bergeron and Krejci not coming back next year.
Right.
So I think it's going to be interesting because it'll tell you what the Bruins' philosophy is in terms of let's win now and not worry about the future as much. And I think what's really a problem for the Bruins, though, is they don't draft very well.
No.
So
what are they going to do with a draft stock if they hold out for
this is the other thing. The teams that they're looking at now to pick up either defenseman or a top third line center or potential second line center or wing, they're looking at 2 players. They're looking at Laurie, the defenseman that's at Ohio State, incidentally. He's not down at Providence, but and then they're looking at Fabian Lysell.
Yeah.
Plus, the Bruins would have to give up not only a Lysell, who is a potential kind of Pasternak kind of player, and Laurie, who could be a top 4 defenseman, but they'd also probably have to give up draft picks, which for the Bruins haven't been a big deal anyways, because even the draft picks that they have don't make it.
That's trade capital too.
Yeah, and then I think Craig Smith would be the guy that the Bruins would throw into that deal because that would give him some cap space because he makes about $4 million.
But do you mortgage your future in trying to win for now?
Well, I see. This is the thing. The future. If you got a team that wins like the Bruins, their first round draft pick is going to be pretty low. They're not going to get a 1, a 2, or a top 10. So they're going to get a guy that might have been in the second round at the end of the first round. So I think they would be willing to give up a couple of a first and a second and try to keep, I think if they had to choose between the 2, they'd try to keep Fabian Lysell.
Well, yeah, I think that you definitely want to keep.
But I think this kid Laurie could be a top defenseman. They've got, and then that would indicate that a couple of guys like Grzelcyk could be available. and Connor Clifton could be available. Forbett is more of a defensive kind of guy. Brandon Carlo, because people like him.
Yeah.
Although some of the Cassidy wasn't crazy about him, but I think he plays a Bruin style. If he hit a little more, it would be really good. But he's a defense. He's like McQuaid.
Right.
He's a stay back defenseman. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now they go out on the road. Now they go to Canada. They're playing actually Seattle tomorrow night, and then they have Edmonton. They got Calgary. And it's going to be interesting.
A defining road trip, Al, don't you think?
Well, it's going to be interesting because they're away from home where they've dominated.
Yeah.
And they're playing teams like Edmonton that can score.
Right.
Not necessarily a good defensive team, but
they're capable.
but they're away.
Yeah.
And the three Seattle's played very well. That's going to be a very difficult game. Don't forget, Seattle beat the
them.
Bruins.
Yeah, convincingly.
So we'll see. What I like about, though, Montgomery is these guys are playing for him because they love offense. They love the defensemen are in the zone. Sometimes you forget that they're even defensemen. They look like they're forwards.
Against the Islanders, I thought they put so much puck pressure on their D and their goalie. They had, so many people involved in the offense.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot of stress on your opponent.
But you can just see it in their faces. I mean, everybody wants to score goals. I don't care if you're a defenseman or a goaltender. Everybody wants to score. When McAvoy scores a goal and he goes back to the bench, he's elated.
Yeah.
When he has a great defensive game, you don't see that really. You don't see,
And you know what? I mean, he's involved in the offense too. Beautiful assist that he had on Pasternak's second goal there.
Well, Pasternak scored. I don't think anybody could have scored that goal by Pasternak.
Oh, yeah.
He did it from his rear end.
Yeah, that was a snipe.
He's a player. I mean, he's fascinating to watch because he does a lot of fancy stuff which can cause problems.
Yeah.
But he also, it's a rifle. When he's at that spot just to the left of the goaltender.
Yeah.
He's a terrific player. But, they haven't signed him either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's going to get done pretty in short order here.
Yeah,
and
so.
The other team that's having a great season as well, the other tenants of the building, the Boston Celtics, get to the All-Star break with the best record in the East. Had some issues with injuries. They got some guys. They lost one in Jaylen Brown with a facial fracture. But Jaylen wound up playing in the All-Star game.
The mask.
Yeah, right. And Jason Tatum winning the MVP, becoming, I think, the only player in NBA history to score 50 points in a regular season game, a bubble playoff game, regular playoff game, NBA Finals game, and the All-Star game, which is an unbelievable feat. Some people poo-pooed it as no one's really playing all-out defense. You know what, though? You still got to put the ball in the basket to score 50. Right?
I mean, that's an interesting thing that you bring up, though, about All-Star games. When I was a kid, the baseball All-Star game, the anticipation of the game was huge.
Yeah,
Not only the game, but the anticipation. Who's going to play? You're going to see in the National League, you want to see Willie Mays. You're going to see Hank Aaron. On the American League side, you had Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams. You had guys like that. Now it's home run derby. It's an entertainment now.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Celebrity softball game.
Yeah.
They got to make it that.
Hockey.
But although Al, let me tell you something. The NBA dunk contest used to be, it went down there. This year, this kid Max McClung. Let me tell you, did you watch any of that?
I did, but
I was I was up late catching the replay because I'd been working that night. When I watched this guy, I fell out of my chair, just like all those professionals who sat courtside. I mean, like I've always said, game recognizes game. And that kid did not have a pro contract. Let me tell you what, if the Philadelphia 76ers lets that kid walk, there are going to be several teams jumping
on him. Read the news on him today. He said, "I'm not just a dunker."
No, he can play.
Well, maybe. Yeah. We'll see.
But I mean, he made some
But
unbelievable
look at the
dunks
hockey
out.
All-Star game, 17-16. East. Nobody even knows what team they're going to be on from one to the next.
Right.
So I think they've diluted the meaning of the All-Star games in all sports.
Yeah, it's not East versus West
not,
anymore.
Your football, same thing. Guys say, I'm not playing in that.
Well, no, and that's the other thing too. I think the NFL tried to recapture that with some of these skills challenges, which is okay. But you know what? You also got to weigh and measure. You don't want to get guys hurt at the end of their season by making them play one more game that's truly meaningless. But at any rate, it was entertaining, and for Joe Mazzulla, it was I think a life-changing thing because he winds up getting extended and handed the job as the Boston Celtics head coach. They removed the interim title from him, well-deserved by that guy. I like the way he approaches each game, and he's single-minded of focus. He brings that to the team. He's still working out some things, managing a game. That requires a special skill, but I think he's coming into his own on that. Just like Jim Montgomery, I think he communicates well with these guys.
Yeah, I mean,
and he has their ear. And you know what? I think they genuinely feel like he cares about them.
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job. I mean, he come in a very difficult situation.
Oh yeah.
And Montgomery actually came in a difficult situation,
sure.
Not only personally for him because he had been.
But there was so much rancor. It seemed like an undercurrent of rancor in the room,
Yeah. Well, then you had a guy like Cassidy who was very popular with
the
people
media.
who watch the game in the media,
Right.
and maybe not popular with guys like DeBrusque and Brandon Carlo and guys like that. But Montgomery's come in and he's done a fine job. But the more I watch all of these, it's changed. Sports has become so much of an entertainment.
Well, yeah.
And not the sport that I think the purists, of which I probably is me.
Puritanical sports.
Well, I step back and say, what are we doing with this thing? I mean, it's crazy. Look at halftime of the NFL Super Bowl. Is 15 hours long for crying out loud, and it's a show. I mean, that's what people come to see. So
it is,
and
then you got the commercials. You got all. I mean, the Super Bowl is a spectacle. It's a spectacle, and that's what people want, and that's what people get.
No, you know what it is. I mean, people love that stuff. I mean, I particularly don't. I actually don't.
Would you pay big money to go to a Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah.
I did, but I wouldn't anymore.
Which one did you go to?
Oh, I was at a couple.
Yeah.
But
corporate events.
Yeah, kind of corporate. I mean, but
still. But that's the thing. I mean, and I think Major League Baseball is running headlong into this.
But
and it's the reason they're experimenting with rule changes to try and draw more viewers to their game.
Yeah, but baseball did
because
the same
they're susceptible to losing a lot of.
But they made I think the bad judgment to continue with the ghost rule. Now, extra innings, they're going to have the runner on second base. It's now going to become a permanent part. And that, to me, if you really analyze it, is stupid. You get two teams who played 9 innings tied.
Right. And you put
then you put a runner in scoring position. All you have to do is get a single, the runner can score.
Right.
It has to be the guy who was.
But the other team also has a chance.
But I understand that. But now everybody goes, well, you got to score 2 runs, not 1 run.
You know what? Here's the thing. I would, if I were commissioner for a day, I would keep that, the ghost runner, okay? But I'd make the amendment that if it goes beyond, an extra inning, then you revert back to regular baseball.
Yeah,
okay. You try and create some separation. And what they're trying to do is create a sudden ending to the game.
Yeah, they want 4.5, 5 hour games. I understand it, but the only places where people walk out of the stadium at 0-0 or 1-1 in the 9th inning.
LA.
LA, they walk out with the runner's bases loaded. They'll
with a no-hitter
out.
going.
Yeah, but I mean, in Boston, New York, Chicago, all the big major cities, we'll stay. I don't mind staying 15 innings to see a game.
Yeah,
it's still exciting.
It is.
I mean, why
is.
you give somebody something that they didn't deserve by putting them on second base? Put them on first base. Well, because why?
what?
He won't score.
But
So
you know
put
what,
him
Al?
on second. Put him
Al,
on third.
No. I agree with putting him on first.
Well,
You know what? Let's put him on first. Bring him back from second to first.
because he won't score.
Well,
They want it to end, so put him on
Yeah.
third.
yeah.
So that a sacrifice fly wins the game, maybe. That's stupid. It's
No,
just not right.
That's not baseball. That's not baseball. You know, and I think football has to address that too with their sudden death situation. Too,
Yeah.
in a certain
Well, I
respect,
like the fact that in football, if the team goes down and scores a field goal,
yeah.
the other team has an opportunity to do it. Now, it's after the first, both have had an opportunity, the rules change. But in hockey, I think the 3-on-3 is the best thing that they ever did. I hate the shootouts.
Yeah.
I think that dilutes the game.
You know, Al, and you look at the conundrum that the Red Sox face right now. Okay.
Big time.
They are facing the very real possibility of starting their season playing in a vacuum and then going to mid-season in that wallowing in that vacuum, because you're going to have a lot of the attention paid to the Bruins and the Celtics, who are making dual postseason runs.
Yeah.
And if they both go all the way, when do you turn your attention to the Red Sox, if at all?
Well,
If they go south early,
yeah, well, that's the
which
big
is
problem. What
which
Cora
is a
said
very
is
real problem.
Cora said it. He said we can't start bad.
No.
We have to get off the gun. The problem with the Red Sox, though, is who's going to get them off the gun? Nobody knows what they. I mean, you don't know if Chris Sale is ready. You don't know if Pavetta is going to be there. You don't know if this one's
Yoshida,
going to be
what
there.
is he going to give you?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
There've already been mixed reviews about
I would
him.
say that most experts would put this team in last place in the East.
Wow, last place.
And
And,
if you
little
think-
wonder why ownership is getting booed at their winter carnival.
Well,
You know,
I would think that both Chaim Bloom and Cora,
well, what
They're
about
in
Sam
trouble.
Kennedy? What about
Sam
Tom
Kennedy, I
Werner?
mean,
What about John Henry?
all of these, so they're the owners. But I mean, if
Yeah.
anybody, they don't usually leave.
No, but I mean, they're responsible for
I understand.
the
but
product
they
put
got
out
booed.
there, right?
John Henry got booed, and he doesn't even understand why he got booed from.
And then he goes, to,
people
you know what?
say.
And then they go down to spring training, and they don't have the turnout like they did
Yeah.
in the past. You know, it's like the Twins. I remember going over and the disparity between the turnout between Red Sox fans and say like Twins
Yeah.
within like a mile's distance
I know.
between the two spring training facilities was stark, and it spoke to the level of fandom and faithful fans who would trek down from Boston to Fort Myers to watch the Red Sox because of their excitement and the buzz. And there's none of that this year, Al. There's none of that. I don't sense any of that.
Yeah.
There's more buzz and there's more excitement right now around the Bruins. There's more buzz and there's more excitement right now around the Celtics.
I think kudos got to go to the Boston Bruins, because if you watch these games the other night, I mean, before
can't
the
stop
game,
watching it from
when the
start to finish.
guys are lined up before the national anthem, they had all these people come out and stand in line with them. They had the one kid that was crippled. He came out on the thing, and Marchand goes over to every one of them. I mean, that's. And then the other night when they ordered Krejci to see Johnny Busick, he's crippled. I mean, he's not crippled, but he's hunched over. He's probably 88, 89 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, they handle that stuff better than any of the sports.
And here's what the Celtics and Bruins are right now. They're beloved, and that's why we love watching them. That's why, and they win, and they give us what we want, and it's everything. They give us everything every game. And that's why we watch, and that's why we'll continue to watch. And I hope that's why you continue to watch Stepping Up to the Plate, because my main man, Al Prizzuti, and I give you everything that we got every week. So come back for some more next week, would you? All righty then. We'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.